As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty town of Dry Gulch, ex-outlaw Jake Johnson rode in. The town itself seemed frozen in time, its wooden buildings creaking and groaning in the gentle wind. Jake had heard stories of this place, tales of lawlessness and chaos that spread like wildfire across the desert. But Jake was here for a fresh start, determined to leave his old life behind. His past was full of blood and violence, and he longed for a peaceful existence. With a worn hat pulled low over his eyes, he tied his horse to a post and stepped onto the wooden walkway that lined the street. The townsfolk cast wary glances at Jake as he strolled past. Whispers followed his every step, tales of a notorious gunslinger looking to turn over a new leaf. But Jake knew better than to trust the small town folk. He knew how quickly heroes could become villains. As Jake made his way to the local saloon, he saw a familiar face amongst the crowd. It was Jeb, his old partner in crime, with whom he had ridden countless times into the sunset. But Jeb wasn't alone. He seemed to be leading a gang of rough-looking men, terrorizing the townsfolk under a new leader. Jake's heart sank. He had hoped that his old gang would have moved on, settled into a new life. But it seemed that his presence here had stirred up old memories and old habits. A conflict raged within him as he struggled to choose between the safety of the townsfolk and his loyalty to his former comrades. The decision was made for him when he saw Jeb snatch a widow's purse and shove her to the ground. The townsfolk gasped in horror as the gang laughed, reveling in their power. Jake's fists clenched at his sides, his jaw set in determination. He would not let them continue their reign of terror, not on his watch. As night fell, a gunfight erupted on the streets of Dry Gulch. Guns blazed and fists flew as Jake took on his former gang with a fury fueled by justice. Each shot fired was a reminder of the man he had been and the man he was becoming. The townsfolk watched in awe as Jake fought with a skill and precision that only a few possessed. When the dust settled, Jake stood tall, his former comrades scattered and defeated. The townsfolk approached cautiously, their eyes filled with gratitude. They saw Jake not as a villain but as a hero, a man who had risked everything to save them. As Jake rode out of Dry Gulch, his head held high, he knew that he would forever be remembered as a hero in the Wild West. The choices he had made, the battles he had fought, had shaped his destiny. Finally, he was free from the clutches of the past, ready to forge a new path in the world.